Hello and welcome to our viewers here in Nigeria and all around the world. This is Newsroom series where we bring you stories from across Nigeria. But our focus today is the southwest region. And let's get things started now in Oyo State, where some residents of Ibadan have joined the protest against the current economic hardship being witnessed in the country. The protesters who gathered at least 3 convergence points at Iwo Road, Songo and Mokola were seen carrying placards with different inscriptions depicting the depth of their agitations. They chanted various songs calling on the government to live up to their electoral promises and stop the suffering across Nigeria. There's heavy presence of security officers deployed to ensure no breakdown of law and order at designated spots for the protests.
The harsh economic realities across Nigeria has led to protests in parts of the country to register the grievances of Nigerians who are struggling to survive. Latest entrants in this set of protests are residents of Ibadan, Oyo State capital, in a peaceful protest, carrying placards and chanting songs to register their displeasure at government actions and inaction. The procession, which assembled at Mokola, moved to Sango, Bodija Market and parts of Agodi. They are calling on the government to, as a matter of urgency, do something to ameliorate the hard economic realities being faced by many Nigerians who could barely feed. The protesters were joined by some traders at the Bodija Market, showing solidarity to their cause.
People are hungry. People are dying daily of hunger. Insecurity is killing people. We just need them to help us. They should just help us. They should just look into our case and be of help to Nigerians. That's just all we need.
Section 34, 39 and 40 empowers every Nigerian to organize a peaceful assembly and to speak about the economic hardship. On this note, this is not today's own. We are starting. This is just the start. It is a continuous action. Expect protest from any angle. It must not be me. It can be you. It is everybody, because the problem does not only affect only me, neither it affects everyone.
Security was beefed up across strategic points in the state capital to ensure that the protest is not hijacked by hoodlums.
We understand that people have rights for this kind of thing, but it is our duty as law enforcement to ensure that it is not hijacked by unscrupulous and mischievous elements who might want to make criminal proceeds from this kind of situation. As you can see from Mokola, which was the starting point of this movement, the police has covered, by foot and, even with vehicles, following them step by step. The command would like to let the good people of Oyo State know, particularly residents, that we have their interest at heart and we will do all that it takes to ensure that the relative peace and tranquility in Oyo State remains as it is.
Similar protests held at Songo and Iwo Road areas within Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. They hope that the government would consider this protest and do something to reduce the suffering of Nigerian masses. Bukola Oriowo, Channels Television News.
In Osun State, the government has disbursed over 580 million naira to beneficiaries of the National Social Safety Net project, where the initiative, termed the Imole Osun Cash Grant Scheme, is in collaboration with the federal government through the state's Operation Coordinating Unit.
The Osun State Cash Intervention Program is aimed at providing relief for the most poor and vulnerable population in the state. Over 19,000 beneficiaries of the scheme who cut across 30 local government areas were randomly selected from the state's social register for poor and vulnerable households. Each of the beneficiaries received between 25 and 30,000 naira.
The objective of this cash intervention is to provide relief for the most poor and vulnerable population in the state against harsh economic conditions occasioned by the implementation of subsidy removal, high cost of living, negative impact of COVID-19 pandemic on micro, small, scale enterprises, and so on.
The program is being supervised by the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget, as the permanent secretary is here to represent the commissioner.
Today's event is planned and strategic. It is designed as a deliberate response of the government to address the prevailing harsh economic situation in the land. Everybody is shouting. There is protest. There are protests all over the land. But Mr. Governor, by whom he said, I want to help my people to be relieved.
The beneficiaries are relieved to have this intervention.
There are some people, they don't have anything to eat. Food is insufficient. They are now trying to improve us. And I really appreciate the governor.
Later, the head of service inaugurates a committee that will ensure the adequate delivery of the initiative. He also presents to some of the beneficiaries the automated teller machine cards for their bank accounts at the venue.
In the meantime, the Lagos State government has called for collaboration with pharmaceutical professionals to help address the issue of wrong prescription and proliferation of fake drugs in the state. The State Special Advisor on Health, Dr. Kemi Ogunyemi, made this appeal during an annual summit with heads of pharmacy units in Lagos. She says pharmacists must desist from selling expired drugs and work towards providing essential medicines and services, regardless of individuals' social and economic status.
Heads of pharmacy units in the Lagos State Public Service converge on the Lagos Island for the annual summit, which serves as a pivotal platform for stakeholders to delve into the complexities and opportunities surrounding pharmacy practice in the pursuit of universal health coverage. Policymakers, regulators, and senior government officials from the Lagos State Ministry of Health highlight areas of concern and challenges of new trends in pharmacy in healthcare delivery.
These new trends of pharmacy does not only hold the potential to enhance the quality of healthcare delivery, but also contribute to the realization of universal health coverage for all. One of the key pillars of achieving universal health coverage is ensuring access to essential medicines and pharmaceutical services for all individuals, regardless of their socio-economic status.
Lagos is one of those states that is actually pioneering what they call a drug revolving fund scheme. What we're trying to do here is how can Lagos move from a drug revolving fund scheme run by their central medical store to looking at what other states are doing, which is having that drug management agency where they can begin to do or improve on what already is existing in the system to make sure that access to quality and affordable medicine is available for every citizen living in Lagos State.
The permanent secretary from the State Ministry of Health, Dr. Olusegun Ogboye, is worried about issues surrounding prescription practices and emphasized the need for enhanced enforcement to combat proliferation of fake drugs and unlicensed pharmacies.
90% of the stock in some of our hospitals is coming from things they bought outside by themselves. Now, there are issues around the authenticity of those drugs. There are issues around the fact that it's killing this system that we are trying to develop. So I think we as pharmacists and the people at the head or the leaders of the whole SDRF thing need to look at how to enforce tighter regulations to ensure that this whole idea survives.
The Lagos State government says it has successfully implemented the Sustainable Drug Revolving Scheme across all primary healthcare centers in the state and ready to leverage on transformative advancement that will bring about quality healthcare services for citizens.
And Ondo State gets our attention next as the government has launched the World Bank co-sponsored Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project in the states to provide good road network for farmers in rural areas. Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa performed the groundbreaking for the 15.5 kilometers Cocoa Board Camp 2 road in Akure, the state capital. The governor says his administration is geared towards improving the living standard of the farming population in the state as farming remains the mainstay of the state's economy.
It is our belief that our administration has repositioned the rural communities and the rural dwellers to a more result-oriented society by the provision of road access and marketing of the farm produce through the establishment of 9 agro-logistics centers across the 3 senatorial districts of the state. Today we are talking about food security and high cost of food. One of the ways we can curb this is what we are doing here today, so that we'll be able to create roads that will lead to our farm settlements, so that farm produce can easily be moved to the centers so as to curb food scarcity and high cost of food. Let me reiterate our commitment to the development of the grassroots and by extension, the people of Ondo State. I'm using this medium to assure you that we shall continue to embark on more developmental projects for the benefit of our people in the state. Permit me to emphasize the need for all stakeholders to take ownership of these projects. The contractors handling the construction of our rural roads must be closely supervised to ensure that the quality of the roads is not compromised under any guise. The fact that these roads have been in a deplorable state for many years makes it imperative that the ongoing intervention must be carried out to the expected threshold of standard. This, hopefully, will achieve a win-win situation for the state, the rural dwellers, and the contractors.
Meanwhile, the state coordinator for the Ondo Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project, Femi Adetomi, explains that the project will improve rural access and agricultural marketing in participating states while strengthening the financing and institutional base for effective development, maintenance, and management of rural road networks.
The name of this particular road project is Oda to Kokobot, to Camp 2, to Langbodo. This project is all about improving on rural access to the rural communities and also improving on existing marketing, and so that there will be enough food to the people of the urban area and the reduction of post-harvest losses. If there's a good road to the rural communities, there will be enough food to the urban people, and as well it will improve the socio-economic life of the rural dwellers. That is the main objective of RAM.
You watch a Newsroom series, and the spotlight today is on southwest Nigeria. We're due for a break, but when we come back, we'll stay with infrastructure as the wait for the red line is almost over, with the Lagos State government carrying out last-minute preparations. We'll speak to the MD Lamata in just a moment, live here in our studios in Lagos, Nigeria. Please stay with us. And many thanks indeed for staying with us. Let's continue now with other stories, as the Minister of Transportation, Saidu Alkali, has called for the need to adopt a multifaceted approach to accelerate the adoption of a sustainable and environmentally friendly transportation solutions through innovative technologies, research and development in order to ensure a sustainable transportation system in the country. He was speaking in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, while giving a keynote address during the 18th edition of the National Council on Transportation, with the theme Embracing Innovations and Technology for a Sustainable Transportation, Tackling the Energy Challenges. While calling for synergy among critical stakeholders, the minister affirms that the theme for the annual event remains a wake-up call to adopt innovations to cushion the effects of energy challenges currently being experienced in the country and the need to mitigate some climate change concerns.
The National Council on Transportation meeting is a yearly event geared at developing a sustainable transportation system in the country. The 2024 event was held in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, and it attracted the presence of transportation experts, regulators, policymakers, investors and operators across the country, including federal and state ministries of transportation, as well as federal agencies supervising the transport sector. They are here to discuss current transportation issues and provide technological ideas that will culminate in the formulation and adoption of policies and common resolutions for the sector in the face of current climate challenges.
The Federal Ministry of Transportation, in pursuing some notable initiatives that will foster an environmentally and economically friendly transportation solution in Nigeria, which includes collaborating with the Presidential CNG Initiative Committee to set up a CNG conversion center in Abuja to mitigate the effect of petroleum subsidy withdrawal.
Mr. Alkali also echoes the need for innovation and acceptance of new technologies in the nation's transportation ecosystem.
The outcome of our deliberation at this council must chart the way forward for government and all stakeholders to work harmoniously to deliver better, improved transportation system for the country. It is for this reason that the land transportation policy being crafted has been laid down before this august body for consideration and contribution.
The Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, is represented here by his deputy, Noimot Salako Oyedele, as the government calls for synergy with critical stakeholders, highlighting some of the plans of the administration for a multi-modal transport system for the state, which include the Kajala Dry Port, the Olokola Deep Sea Port, among others.
An integral part of our transportation master plan is the Olokola Deep Sea Port project. Our administration is determined to take advantage of the unique draft at Olokola, and we're working assiduously to ensure the resuscitation of the project, an integrated deep sea port within the 10,000 hectare Olokola free trade zone as soon as practicable in the overall interest of the country.
The Council is expected to come out with a workable and sustainable transportation policy framework that takes into cognizance a technology and environmentally friendly transportation ecosystem for the country.
And back here in Lagos, the state's governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, is carrying out last-minute inspection for the Red Rail Line project. The governor, who kicked off the massive infrastructure project during his first-term administration, says test driving of the rail route will commence immediately after the inauguration by President Bola Tinubu on February 29th. He also is sending a message of warning to traders to stop selling along the rail corridors, and anyone picked up will be dealt with according to the law.
The Red Line Rail Project is a 37-kilometer rail route from Agbado to Marina, having 13 stations including Ikeja, Iju, Yaba, Mushin, amongst others, is already 95% complete. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, his deputy Kadri Hamzat, the managing director of Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, as well as the Commissioner for Environment and Transportation, are here for an inspection of the Red Rail route to ensure all construction and engineering work has been completed before the February 29th inauguration date. The governor and his team moved from Obalende Ijora, insisting that clearing of shanties and the reclamation of the right-of-way for the rail project will be a continuous exercise to ensure the safety of passengers when the Red Line Rail fully takes off.
The tour is for us to begin to get prepared for the eventual commissioning of the entire Red Line, train stations, and Red Line infrastructure, right? As you all know, and as we said, in 2 weeks' time or thereabout, we shall be commissioning the Red Line, by Mr. President. Thereafter, we will start a few testing, real testing after the commissioning, so that it's now fit and proper for pedestrian and for passenger use. In terms of the buildings, in terms of the tracks, in terms of the stations, they're all ready, for commissioning.
The inspection continued to Oshodi area, down to Agege, and terminated at the Ikeja Red Line train station, also to inspect the infrastructure. He also says all forms of trading or living beside the rail tracks will not be tolerated.
All right, let's bring in more updates on that story now with the Red Line project here in Lagos. We are joined by the Managing Director of the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, Mrs. Abimbola Akiajo. Thank you indeed for making our time to stop by our studios. The wait is almost over, MD. I mean, the February 29th date, is that still a possibility?
It is. It's cast in stone. Mr. President is coming and we're ready.
All right. Let's talk about other issues. For instance, Mr. Governor's visit to China recently, we understand you were all there to ensure a few finishing touches as you finalize some other infrastructure projects in the country. But some critics are a bit skeptical. They're wondering if perhaps the bilateral tie, perhaps with China, would translate perfectly to the peculiar needs of Lagos, for instance. Speak to that.
Okay, so at the end of the day, we as a people know exactly what we require and we know what we need. In relationship, there must be dialogue, and those conversations happen from the very top to the very bottom. So even when we went to China, there were technical conversations as to what our requirements would be and how it would fit into our own demography, into the needs of our people, and all of that was taken into cognizance. That experiment has been proven very well on the Blue Line. The Blue Line is working today, and we are carrying passengers, and everything is functioning as it ought to be. And that was a relationship that birthed not just the infrastructure, but the rolling stock and the operational service that is ongoing.
And for those who do not understand, what exactly is the difference between the Blue Line and the Red Line?
Okay, excellent question. So the Blue Line today is operating and it's being powered by electricity. So it has its own electric supply. We use the grid and all of that. So we have a third rail system. So there is another rail apart from the tracks that goes along the side of the rail that will power the rolling stock. It is very different to the Red Line. The Red Line will be diesel powered. So we will have what we call diesel multiple units. That will be the trains. The train itself will be powered by diesel. And that is the major difference in terms of it is about how the trains are powered. So the Red Line is diesel powered. The Blue Line is electric powered.
And speak to us about the routes. I know that I was there for the flag off of the Blue Line, the test driving rather, sometime around May in 2023. But I remember doing this test drive with you guys from Marina, I think, to Mile 2 and correct, back to Marina. It was a very fantastic experience. But let's talk about the routes, the Red Line. Where are we looking at? Somewhere around Agbado to...
Okay. So the whole line is from Agbado to Marina. That's the design that we have at the moment. But like every rail system, we will build it in phases. And we have built the first phase of the Red Line. And that first phase will be from Agbado all the way to Oyingbo. So we have 8 stations that will be working from Agbado to Oyingbo. That will be Agbado, Iju, Agege, Ikeja, Oshodi, Mushin, Yaba, and Oyingbo. So that's what the first phase will entail, starting from, and we will be sharing tracks with NRC, and that's what we've always said, that we will be sharing tracks with NRC up until Ebute Metta. From Ebute Metta all the way to Oyingbo will be new tracks that we've built. But as part of the works that we've done, we've built all those 8 stations. We have built sidings that will allow us to come in and out of the main track system.
Well, I was going to ask if you could quickly perhaps mention the second phase and when to be completed so that Nigerians can perhaps hold the Lagos State government accountable when that time comes.
Okay, so we have 2 options. And those two options are one of the things that the state government is looking at. The first option is to go from Oyingbo to National Theatre. That will be a very quick win. And it's one thing that the state is seriously looking at, the ability to connect. And what that does is afford us connectivity. If he goes from Oyingbo to National Theatre, that means that you will be connected with the blue line, which will then take you onto Marina, which is the ultimate goal of the red line. So that's a quick win, and that's one that can be done in, well, 2 years. If we start it, then it can be completed in 2.5 years maximum. The second option is that we actually take a bridge from Oyingbo and we go all the way to Marina on a separate infrastructure. Now, that will be hugely expensive, but both of them have their pros and their cons. But the most important thing is to ensure that we provide connectivity. So the second option provides the connectivity at Marina. The first option, which is one, in all fairness, that the state is looking at keenly because of how quickly we can do it and how less expensive it will be than going all the way to Marina. And that would connect you with the Blue Line at National Theatre.
All right, so I understand we are absolutely pressed for time, but perhaps you can squeeze in this answer maybe in 20 seconds. Because when you look at the population in Lagos, there's a massive and explosive population here. Some say we're about 22 million, some say 25 million.
Pick a number.
But, I mean, when you look at the reason why, I mean, Lamata was established before the early 2000s and all, do you think what we are doing right now, the establishment of the rails, do you think is the rail system matching with the demands and explosive population of Lagos?
Well, I think the demand is something that Lamata continuously surveys. And we have done, passenger surveys, both for the blue and for the red. And I believe, we in Lamata believe strongly that what we're doing is exactly along the right path.
All right. It's a fine place to anchor our conversation with you, Managing Director of the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, Mrs. Abimbola Kiajo. Thank you indeed for speaking with us, and all the best to you and your team and what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that does it for us here on the program. Thank you indeed for watching the show. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'm Kelly Agiga. Good afternoon.